The future Baseball Hall of Famer's name was misspelled the first time it appeared in the Dallas Morning News. On September 30, 1956, Willie McCovey, this newspaper called the kid who that season hit .310 for the New York Giants Class B affiliate in Danville, VA. Willie McCovey, the teen first baseman from Mobile, Alabama, was coming off a year during which he hit 29 homers and 38 doubles, leading the Carolina League. The big club was promoting him up to Dallas, to the mighty Eagles of the Texas League. McCovey's time in Dallas would not last long. A single championship season spent on the banks of the Trinity River, at Burnett Field on Jefferson Boulevard. His days wearing an Eagle uniform are, at most, an aside in an illustrious career. I've yet to see that 1957 season mentioned in the obituaries and tributes penned since McCovey's death at the age of 80 on Wednesday. If you've ever wanted to run Dallas' oldest, most beloved Field of Dreams, here's your chance. But over many years I have heard endless tales of McCovey's brief Dallas days, first from my father, who would go to Eagles games with his next-door neighbor Richard Poole, son of Joe Poole, the congressman for whom many things would one day be named. Later came stories from McCovey's teammates and sports writers, who I met while reporting a long story about the Eagles for the Dallas Observer 20 years ago. They all said the same thing: there were good players, there were great players, and there was Willie McCovey. I always thought he would make the big leagues. His former Eagles teammate, and Texas Baseball Hall of Famer, Dick Getter told me 20 years ago. But with the humidity and temperature being what it was in Dallas, somebody once asked Willie if he was tired. And manager, Salty Park, said, "Willie gets tired breathing." It was funny, because Willie was so loosey-goosey, you'd think guys could throw fastballs by him, but there was no way. Thursday morning I called Getter, who spent his 14-year career roaming the outfields in Dallas and Sioux City and New Orleans and other minor league towns, to talk about his former teammate. Getter, who turned 90 last week, had no idea McCovey had died. McCovey officially became a Dallas Eagle on Feb. 7, 1957, and, yes, by then, we had his name spelled correctly. About this historic occasion, the news reported only that he was a 6'4" Negro first baseman who is expected to hold down the post this summer. The next month, News Sports editor Bill Rives went to Sanford, Florida, to get a read on first-year skipper Francis "Salty" Parker's young squad. McCovey's name does not appear until the very bottom of the column, as though he were an afterthought. The kid, Rives wrote that the 19-year-old left-handed batting McCovey will help in the power department if Texas League pitching isn't too much for him. Spoiler, it wasn't. Willie is a left-handed hitter and that right field fence in Dallas may seem a mile away when he first steps up to bat, Rives wrote. But McCovey, who's had only 2 seasons of pro ball, looks like a comer, big, rangy and strong, that ran on March 31, 1957, a Sunday. 2 days later Rives devoted his entire column to the rookie because everybody in camp thinks he's a major league prospect, manager Salty Parker told the writer. If he isn't, I don't know who is. Within that column about the rookie are the makings of a legend's bio, the origin story about a kid who didn't make it past 10th grade, how he got the nickname Stretch, how great power lied beneath the young man's serene surface. The column is a deeply uncomfortable read, too, 61 years later, especially the bit about how McCovey is a quiet, unassuming, polite Negro. Rives also had fun with the first baseman's inability to say lackadaisical. From a 1957 Dallas Eagles program, "They say I'm not pushing hard enough," McCovey said. "But that's just my ways, I guess. Still, you don't talk your way on base." McCovey, sidelined for a spell by injury, hit 11 homers that season over 115 games, one, in May, a 2-strike grand slam against Austin, and another, in June, against the Fort Worth Cats at Burnett Field. That was the longest in memory. That team won the Texas League pennant, but didn't make it to the Dixie Series, the so-called World Series of the South. By 1959 McCovey was a San Francisco Giant, playing on a team that included Orlando Cepeda, Hank Sauer, Dusty Rhodes, Felipe Alou and Willie Mays. McCovey never did come back to town to play ball. Got close once, in 1976 at Arlington Stadium, when he went 0-5 against the Texas Rangers during 2 games as an Oakland Athletic. From the Dallas Morning News, 1957, far as I can tell, Stretch spoke little of his time in Dallas. In 2005, he mentioned how he was just one of 3 black players on the Eagles, and how, when they had to travel to Shreveport, where blacks weren't allowed to play with whites, we stayed home in Dallas. And in 2012, he recalled getting his spike caught in the clay against Fort Worth, and how he tore the cartridge in his right knee and ankle, which forever bothered him, but he didn't complain. Telling the San Francisco Chronicle, "I was doing what I loved to do, play baseball. 20 years ago I tried to talk to McCovey about his days as an Eagle. I'll admit, a chance to speak to the legend was half the reason I wrote that story. But McCovey wanted no part of it, nothing personal," a Giants spokeswoman said. "That was just a very long time ago. I tried again years later." Same response, "He was a quiet guy," McCovey's former teammate Dick Getter told me Thursday afternoon as we sat in his living room poring over old clips in game programs. "And he was a heck of a ball player, as my father, who saw him play here, on the shores of the Trinity River, will occasionally remind me.